and welcome to another spin that focuses on Australia's NDIS, the National Disability Insurance Scheme. We've had a couple of impromptu programs, and we've got another one that's not quite as impromptu today. And this time we are focusing on the NDIS from the point of view of a parent of a child who has some disabilities, which she will explain to you. And it'll be about the focus from her point of view. And with that in mind, let's introduce you to Julie Harvey. Hi, Julie.
Hello. How are
doing?
you?
I'm doing good.
Good. Very good.
Whereabouts are you? What part of Australia?
In Sydney. I'm in Campbelltown.
I'll still talk to you, even though you're from Sydney.
No, I know. Don't hold it against me, but
No,
it's a great
I'm a Melbourne
place,
boy
really.
originally, you see. We're not really
Oh, well, there you
supposed
go.
to
Yeah.
So,
Campbelltown's
go on. Yeah.
Campbelltown's a fantastic area for services for people with disabilities.
Is it?
It's been amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. I know people, when Rachel was young, my daughter was younger, people that I'd met had moved to this area because there was nothing in the areas that they were in, like Central Coast or
Wow, that's a good wrap.
north part of, it was always been an amazing place.
Well, let's get into that a bit. Your daughter Rachel is currently on the NDIS, correct?
That's right.
Would you mind telling us a little bit about Rachel, if that's all right?
Sure. Rachel's 24 and she has a severe global development delay caused by an illness when she was 13 months old. She had viral encephalitis, and it's just been a gradual, she recovered from the illness, and then it was just left with a development delay. So fast forward till now, and the last 3 years, I think, 4 years maybe, this could be our fourth year on the NDIS. So she attends a day program in Campbelltown, had schooling in Campbelltown, so everything has been in our area. All our services are in this area: speech, respite, everything.
Well, first of all, I should apologise because I've forgotten the age, and I was calling Rachel a child.
Oh.
She's not. She's a young woman.
Well, she is I know, but she's still a child to me.
I mean.
Yeah,
That's all right. I think I'm still a child to my parents too. You know, that's just the rules.
yeah, that's what my dad says. I'm his youngest. I'm his baby.
Are you? Okay. Now,
Yeah.
the NDIS, 4 years. You must have got on it fairly early on.
I think this area probably came in about 2 years after it was implemented, firstly into the Central Coast and Hunter Valley area in New South Wales.
And how have you found it?
Good and bad, the concept is such a great idea.
Concept is wonderful, and it's more than we've ever had before, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. I must admit, I get funded for a lot of stuff now that I didn't get funded for before. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the good before we go into any of the negatives.
Okay, the good.
What's the good side of it? What's been good about it?
The good side is that Rachel's incontinent, so she's in adult nappies. I don't have to pay for any of those. That's all covered now, whereas before I was, it was costing me nearly $100 a week. So that's all covered. She gets, her day program covers her for lots of hours that I have to work because I have to work full time. So I'm lucky enough to have the funding that can allow Rachel to be looked after while I worked.
So she gets some support while you work.
Yeah, even though it's not about me, but it does enable me to live my life, which enables me then to support Rachel.
Well, let's be honest. You have to work to survive. So if you are working to feed Rachel and survive, there has to be somebody to support Rachel. So they're still supporting
Absolutely.
Rachel.
And just because I have a child with special needs who relies on me, it doesn't mean that I can't live my life to the fullest. So I should still be able to go to work like I would be doing normally, travel and do whatever else I need to do. So I think that the NDIS supporting parents in that regard is a great thing.
Well, I think that it often does mean, unfortunately, that you can't live your life to the fullest. But
definitely.
Having said that, the NDIS has certainly changed the ratio of that. You can live your life a lot more now than before the NDIS, I think.
I think so. Like, as far as working is easy for me because I do have the funding for her to be looked after. But, as far as respite's concerned, there's still a significant downfall in the funding for that. Like, I don't believe that I can access respite for the amount of time that I would like to have if I wanted to have a big holiday, because
So
the
can you
funding isn't
explain
there.
for the people who don't know what you mean by respite?
Oh, okay. So when I need a break, or when Rachel needs a break, or when I need to do something with my son, we have always put Rachel into respite. So she goes to a centre-based respite. So there's 3 or 4 other clients that stay overnight in a house in a suburb in Campbelltown, of course, and they have staff there that look after them. They do activities with them. She learns to cook while she's there. She does lots of activities, interacts with the peers that she's gone to school with, and she's formed a whole little set of friendships while she's been there. So
That's great. And I mean,
yeah,
that sort of shows the necessity, because not only does it give Rachel time, it does 3 things. It gives Rachel time with some other stimulus and some people that, because as we'll talk about later, you have a trusted group of supporters. She knows who they are and she doesn't feel threatened. Secondly, it gives you a break from what, if we're really honest, can be quite a tiring scenario. And perhaps even more importantly, it gives your son the opportunity to have some mum time, so he doesn't feel left out or like he's a third wheel or anything. It gives you a chance to be a mum and a son.
which was one of the main reasons I started that, was for my son. When he was, because he's 3 years younger than Rachel, so he's now 21 and doesn't obviously like to spend as much time with me as what he used to. But that's okay, because I get to use that respite time for myself now. But
Yes.
back in the day, when he was a young boy, that was the thing. Rachel went to respite. He got to choose what we did. He got to choose what takeaway, if we went to the movies or we went bowling, because I couldn't do those things with Rachel.
Yes.
It was just too hard. And
But I mean, some of
didn't want
those
him to
respite
do that.
hours you're working, aren't you?
I always tried to put her in on a weekend. So
Okay.
so her day program covers my working hours, but the respite I always try to do over a weekend, mainly because then I've got activities to do with Matthew.
Yes.
That
yes,
time is
that
available.
makes sense. So
Or if I wanted to take him away for a weekend or something.
there's a lot of things that come to mind there for me. In fact, so many I can't even think of which way to go with them. You feel like you need more respite hours. That's one thing you do feel. I know you're grateful for what you've got, but what would you do if you had more respite hours? What would it change?
Look, I'm not getting any younger, and none of us are, I guess. But I'd like to travel, so I'd like to maybe book anything. I mean, the longest Rachel's been in respite is 2 weeks, and I went away on a trip to Europe with my son just for 2 weeks, Greece and Italy. It was a school thing, but I had to fight to get that respite so I could spend that time with him, because I thought that would be memories that we could make together.
Wonderful.
But now, if I wanted to do an extended journey somewhere, over to Europe myself, or go, away with some girlfriends for a trip through somewhere, I would be hard pressed to get that amount of funding to have her put for an extended amount of time.
And it's a funny balance there, because they say the NDIS funding is for Rachel, and it is, but it does sort of help to give you a chance to live a life as well. So it's a strange sort of a balance that you're trying to find there, I guess.
I think they forget the carer sometimes. And when Rachel was little, like when she was, at school, life was different because Matthew was still young, so our limitations were different anyway. That it was different. We would do short holidays to Queensland or whatever. But now that he's older and I'm getting older, and I want to live my life before this is over and not get to a point where I've gone, well, all I did was look after Rachel.
And that's
You know what I mean? I
the
wanna
thing.
be
You're
able to-
almost one person in many ways when you have a daughter or a family member with a disability, people go, well, it's all about her. And really, to some degree in life, you're the same person because
Yeah, I'm
circumstances
the same
make you
person
that.
I was 24 years ago. That's right. I'm still doing the same thing. I'm
No, I
still
mean, you
changing
and
nappies.
Rachel become so
Oh
intertwined,
yeah,
you're
twice.
almost
Yeah,
one person.
we are. We are. It's kind of like, and I try to. I try not to let that happen. Only because if something happens to me immediately, like if you just say, heaven forbid, I pass away or I'm in a car accident or something, Rachel needs to not be relying on me then.
Yes.
So I've kind of always tried to make Rachel be her own person and and give her that time with other people as much as that we are a
Much
couple
as,
when we're at
yes,
home, I guess.
exactly, exactly.
But
Now that,
have tried to put that out there so that she wasn't. It wasn't a shock for her if something happens, or if I get sick and she has to be looked after for an extended amount of time by somebody else, it wouldn't be such a shock. But that's the
now,
other thing. If I get sick and I need it looked after for an extended period of time, there's not enough funding for any of that.
okay, now that
You know,
really is important. That really is important.
yeah,
Now,
I know.
go on. I was thinking, there was a question I was thinking about asking, and I was thinking, should I, shouldn't I? And now
No,
you've probably opened the door. Before the NDIS, look, I used to work
Mhm.
many years ago. I used to work with intellectually handicapped children as a house father, which was kind of weird because I
Okay.
was in a wheelchair, and
Good
most people who met us just assumed I was one of the
clients.
clients. Yeah, I can think of the right politically
I
correct
think
word
they're
these
called
days.
something else now. Are
Yeah,
they
they change
customers
the word
now?
every 5 minutes. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I know.
they just assumed that I was one of the clients and the house mother was looking after all of us. But that's and my producer Carl is smiling, and I can just hear all the thoughts going through his head, but I don't want to think about them. But look, I used to wonder. They used to say to me, "My biggest fear is what happens when I pass away." Now, before the I mean, it's always still a fear, but before the NDIS arrived, I bet the fear was a lot larger. Has it
Um,
alleviated that fear a little bit?
I don't know. I don't think so. And I think it all comes back down to who's going to have her. So it doesn't matter what amount of funding you have or what amount of support you have, who is going to have these kids when something happens to us?
Yes. It's really up
I
to
mean, I
your
know there's,
son or something, or
well, and he'll
institution,
just
isn't it?
go, what am I going to do with her?
Yeah, true.
Like that's it. Or so, and another part of my head goes, like I've always said, by the time she was 30, I would think about putting her in a group home for that reason, so that she was settled. But that decision totally destroys me every time I think about it
And
because I just feel like,
that's both a sad thing for you, but a wonderful thing because
yeah,
that's just real love in there. I mean, how can you do that? It's
yeah,
hard.
no, but
I
I
understand it, but
know.
it's difficult. Yep.
I feel like she's wondering why I'm deserting her,
Abandoning would be the
but
word you'd be
well,
thinking.
that's right, yeah. But it's something I really have to think about, like I need to carry on with my life and I want her settled before anything happens to me. That's the main thing. I don't want her to, if something happened to me and everybody goes, oh my God, what are we going to do with Rachel?
Yes, yes.
Where do we put her? So if I've got that already settled and she's settled, then that alleviates a little bit of anxiety for myself and
Yep.
everybody else in the family, I
Yep.
guess.
All right, we're getting off the topic with the NDIS a little bit
Oh,
here,
sure we are.
but that's I'm good at that. But let's just go back a little bit, and we've acknowledged, as I acknowledge all the time, I'm so pleased the NDIS has arrived, and it's far better than what we had before, which was basically nothing for a lot of us, anyway.
Yes.
And I just wonder, well, it's hard to even know where to go from here.
Oh, there's a million things you could ask. Ask
Yeah,
away.
you've told me some pretty scary things that have happened. One particular lady, and this is not the NDIS's fault, but the NDIS is only as strong as the people that work within and for it. And you had a lady
Absolutely.
actually accuse you of using your child as an excuse for respite or something like that. Can you tell us about that?
I had, this was at the end of Rachel's first year. So the first year of funding, we got a big bucket of funding, which was great because I set up a whole lot of supports for Rachel, some weekend activities. And then when it come for the review, I put the review in with exactly the same what I wanted, just want it duplicated. And a lady rang me one day and said that Rachel, they were taking an X amount of dollars off me because of they didn't think Rachel deserved some of the one-on-one she was having, and which meant then that I couldn't have respite time because I needed to pay for this one-on-one in the afternoons because I was working. And she said to me, well, respite for you should be between 9 and 3 when she's in day program. And I went, okay. And I actually said to her, well, you know, this is my job as well, looking after Rachel, and you have 4 weeks holiday from your job. Why aren't I entitled to have a break from my job? And she said, well, I don't have a break to get away from my kids. I went, okay, well, you don't have somebody with special needs, obviously, or do you?
That was a pretty disgusting thing to say, really.
Yeah, she, you know, and very untrained, obviously, you know, not trained in empathy or...
No, well, you don't have to be trained in empathy. You've either got it or you have it.
Oh, yeah,
and clearly she didn't have it.
She didn't have it. I mean, that was just some of the many things that was said to me through the... and I think the NDIS is a great idea, but it is only as good as those people that are operating in it. And there's a lot of people in there that have probably just got the job because they needed a whole lot of people when it was starting up. Yeah. And let's get a whole lot of people, and everybody applied for it, and they just gave most people the job because we needed to fill the seats. I don't know.
Now, can I ask, I don't know the politically correct way to ask this, but what is the equivalent mental age of Rachel?
Probably about 3, maybe. Depends on what she's doing. If she's playing with her iPad, mate, she's better at that than I am. She can go backwards and forwards.
So is every 3-year-old, to be quite frank.
I know. Well, that's exactly
anyway,
right. Exactly. Her speech
is
is non-existent, basically. So she babbles a lot. There are some words she says, you know, mummy and daddy. And
but the point is, they're saying that she doesn't need services, and that is the extent of her disability. How can they possibly turn around and say she doesn't deserve that amount of one-on-one time? That doesn't make any logical sense to me.
But the worst part about it is they'd never met her.
So they're doing it without even looking.
They're doing it off paper, and they're not even talking to me, not even ringing me and saying, you know, like, why does Rachel need this? And so I could explain to them, or, you know, even though they had doctor's reports and they had reports from the day program and everybody put their bits in, but they just looked at it and went, oh, shit, what kid needs that? Because they had no experience in dealing with these sort of kids or these people, adults, you know. And
so
Rachel's not the only one.
No knowledge at all. They were just book learning stuff.
I did say to some lady, you know, there's only 2 people in the world that can tell me what I need for my daughter. One is myself and one is her doctor.
Yes.
You don't know anything about her. Don't preach to me what I need. I'm not asking it because I want to spend oodles of dollars, because I don't care. I just want what she needs and what we need as a family to survive and to get by. It's what, you know, like, it wasn't about, oh, hey, I've got all this money, let's spend it. Because the first year I actually didn't spend $50,000 and they took it off me. And I didn't spend that amount of money because they gave me too much in the beginning. Like, I was happy with what I had. Like, the supports I had in place, I was happy with.
Now, a lot of people would make sure they spent that money in order to get more the next year, but you didn't do that. And yet still, you were chastised in some way.
Yeah, and I probably could have spent all that money, the extra $50,000 on respite, which isn't a whole lot of respite really, but, you know, there's only so much you can, you know, there's other people have to be considered as well. Everybody's the same boat trying to get respite for their family, and, you know, so you don't just do it for the sake of doing it. You do it when you need it.
Yes, that's right, you do. And the strange thing is, as I said, you weren't abusing the system, and
no.
You know what, you were still, I don't know, sometimes it just doesn't make sense to me.
They actually gave me, you know how the NDIS is set up into call funding and capacity building and whatever. So they gave me a whole lot of money in capacity building for speech and OT. And it was so hard for me to get somebody to do speech and OT with Rachel because of her age, like she was 23.
Yep.
Oh, lost me. She was 23. And
Most people only half listen to me. Sorry, bad joke.
that's okay.
Go on.
Nobody listens to me. So I had a lot of trouble getting people. A lot of people wouldn't work for the NDIS because they didn't like, they would write reports for the NDIS and those people would go, no, sorry, we can't accept that. And that's coming from those same people that are telling me that Rachel doesn't need those services.
Yep.
And they're also then telling practitioners that we don't accept your report, probably because they couldn't understand it, I don't know. So there was a lot of trouble getting people to work for the NDIS.
Has that changed a bit? Is it easier now?
I've actually found an OT and a speech now, which my LAC here in Campbelltown found them for me because I had so much trouble. And I said, if you want Rachel to have it, then you need to find me somebody. So
Yes.
she did actually. She's a very nice girl, and so she found me the services for her. So she now has both of those weekly.
Now, just out of interest, because I don't know an awful lot about lots of disabilities, I'm learning myself.
Mm-hmm.
You say that Rachel is pretty much non-verbal. So
Pretty much.
What is the point of going to a speech therapist?
It's surprising what she's learning. She's learning lots of sounds, and
Great.
she has because she can say, like she says, Dora the Explorer, as plain as anything, dog, little words, but she doesn't use her Fs, and which is probably a good thing. And she doesn't, there's other sounds she doesn't use. She gets confused between, like when she says money and Maddie, they sound very much the same.
So they do.
speech
I
therapist-
understand now. She does have some verbal.
She has
words,
some speech,
and
yeah,
that's
but she
wonderful.
can't string two words together, really.
Thank you
Like,
for allowing me to ask that, because I didn't
No.
understand.
Bat.
Bat.
Again.
Bat.
Yes! Woo!
Oh,
Good girl.
put it on me.
So you want to do that one? The hat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looking. Hat.
That.
Again.
Oh.
Hat. You're going well. Hat.
Yeah.
Again.
Oh.
Oh, no giggling. Looking. Looking.
Oh.
Hat. Well done.
Yeah, that's it.
Good girl. Very good.
Put it me.
We want to do the cat next.
Ah.
Look at my mouth.
Ah.
Hat.
Yeah.
Again. Not too soft. Say it for me.
Yeah.
Soft. Yes. Looking. Looking.
Yeah.
Cat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was nice and soft.
I did.
That was good.
Yeah.
she can actually sing better than she can speak. So
Well,
you give her a microphone,
A lot
and
of
she's
people are
amazing.
like that. Yeah. Yeah.
I know, it's crazy.
It's fantastic, and music is such
And
a
songs
wonderful
back from
healer.
she's very much a music girl, music and dancing, and anything to do with people singing, and
Well,
she
growing
likes
up
it. Even her own.
with a disability, I love music, and in fact, I became a radio announcer because I love music and the radio. So there you
Okay.
go. Anyway, get back on topic. Tell me, what if there was anything that you could say, NDS, I want this for Rachel, what would it be now?
I think it would be more control. And when I say control, I mean, and this is probably more for me, but again, that's for Rachel. Like, I think it's more if I happen to get called into work on a Saturday, say, and it's a Saturday that she's not with her father because she goes with her father every fortnight, I cannot get someone to mind her. I can't just ring up, even though she has money in her package, I cannot ring up and get a carer anywhere because I haven't filled in a service agreement, 6 months beforehand to say I needed it on that day. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, it's not really.
So there's no on-call service for you?
Well, no. And there probably is for people, and I think I said this to you on the phone the other day, I'm pretty picky on who I leave Rachel with. And that's for Rachel's benefit because she's non-verbal, and so I like to leave everything with the one company. But in saying that, I don't think there's an option where I can just pick up a phone and go, oh, hey, I need a carer tonight.
Yeah.
Coming from the place that she gets her people from, you know what I mean? I don't think that they offer that. Theirs is more of a day program thing. Even though they have respite houses or they have group homes, they don't offer that service. So I think it's more the flexibility that I would like.
I understand that's for both of you. So the next question is for yourself. We're talking major now. What would you like for yourself that perhaps the NDIS could help facilitate?
It's probably just enough funding to have the respite when I really, really need it. Not go, oh, okay, I've got X amount of dollars, so I want to go away for on this weekend with the girls, so I need that amount of dollars for that. But hey, that leaves me now. I can't go away for 2 weeks or 3 weeks on a holiday somewhere. It's just a very limited supply of money that you have. I mean, and I get a good package. Like, I must admit, I'm very lucky. But I think, if I went to the NDIS and I said, look, next year I want to travel, can I get funding to have a 6-week holiday? And without a word of a lie, I could hear it now.
They'd say what?
No.
No, because that's not for Rachel, that's for you.
That's right. But then if I don't keep myself well and, as a carer,
that's a good point.
And have a break and all that, then, I can only say to them, well, then I need her.
That's for Rachel. Yeah.
That's it. I need to be in the best, like, what do they say? Happy wife, happy life. It's the same with the carer. Like, I need to be.
Yes.
That's it. Like, and if I coming back home to the house feeling rejuvenated and happy and, ready to go, okay, I know it's typical same shit, different day scenario in our house. That's what happens when you got kids. I can't even beep that out. Oh, sorry.
I just wish I was allowed to say that word. I want to all the time.
It's the same thing every day. She says the same things to me and I say the same things. We watch the same TV shows. She listens to the same programs. So it's very monotonous and repetitious, and you think to yourself, wow, if I could do this again today. But you do. You just get up and you get dressed and you do it. Yeah. And I dress her and I shower her and I do all the things I need to do for that.
Well, I think you're both doing a great well, I hate it when people say you're doing a marvellous job. You just want to punch them. But I think you're doing well in the circumstances and everything's...
What I hate is when they say you must be a special person.
Well, you must.
No, seriously, I'm not. I hate that.
I get that as well. Oh, you're so brave. You haven't seen me when a spider comes in the room. I'm gone.
That's right. Like I think,
Before we wrap this up, just one thing. Did you say that Rachel is in a dance thing and they were maybe going to Disneyland? Is that right?
We are supposedly going to Disneyland next April, and they're going to be dancing, I think, twice in Disneyland, and plus they've been invited to go into the Main Street Parade.
Wow,
which is a big thing.
That.
Yeah. So
is this the one in California?
I don't know what's going to. Yeah.
That's the real Disneyland. I don't know what's going.
The real Disneyland, the original one. So I don't know what will happen now because of COVID-19. We haven't really discussed it yet.
Do you go with Rachel on that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And does the NDIS fund any of that?
Probably not. I don't know. See, that's another thing.
That's where I think they should fund a little bit, because you're doing it for Rachel. It's for Rachel, and you need to be there. So I don't see why that isn't funded.
Well, that's right, because she can't travel on her own. She can't get the bus on her own here, let alone get on a plane and go to Los Angeles.
Another country.
That's right. Even though I don't think that concept would even enter her head. I don't think she would get that whole, when I go up in a plane and I land, I'm in a different country. No, but she's going to love being in Disneyland, I can promise you that. I think she will love it. She will absolutely love it.
Mind you, I'm probably one of the only people that at 40 years old had when people asked for my picture ID, I used to pull out my Disneyland card. But anyway, it's just one of those things. And to be honest, I did nearly trample a couple of 5-year-olds trying to catch a beach ball thrown by Ariel.
You've got to be first.
But I
That's right.
shouldn't admit that. It was a wonderful day. Carl's throwing up his arms in something.
But travelling with, there was another thing I came upon with the NDIS when I asked about going to Queensland, and that whole you can take a carer with you and all that sort of stuff. And I said to the girl, oh, if I took a carer to Queensland with me, you know, what do I need to pay for? I didn't know what that story was. Like, I don't know whether you need to pay them a wage or you pay for their accommodation. I don't know how that works. And she said to me, oh, no, we would just get someone from Queensland to come and help you.
But you don't know who that is.
I said, that's just stupid, because she doesn't know who they are, and I wouldn't leave her with someone that she didn't know. And they don't know Rachel. How would they know to look after her? How do they know what her little idiosyncrasies are and when she needs changing and feeding and what she likes to eat and all that
Well,
sort of
I'm
stuff?
not sure that's the only option. I tell you what, I'm going to ask about that because I'm sure that's not the only option. And when we all join together again in a few weeks in the panel that we're going to have, we might address that, because I don't think it is the only option.
Look, you know, and I think that's that is the person on the end of the phone that you're talking to, or, you know, it's much like Centrelink.
Yep.
Someone tells you a different answer when you ring.
Okay.
Which is another program you could do on, because I had a really disastrous time with Centrelink over Rachel when she was turning 16. That's another story.
We will do that in another one, because
that's another story.
where Carl keeps looking at me with this look like...
Is he winding up, is he?
You're running over time. And, like, I don't usually care what he says, but I should listen sometimes. That's a joke, Carl. So, look, come on, Carl. Come and say hello to all the people. Come on. No, come on. If you won't get paid any extra if you don't.
Come on, Carl.
Come on. Say hello to all the people. This is Carl, everybody.
You do realise that 10% of nothing is still nothing.
Oh, go away. Go away. Anyway,
Maybe
look,
you're getting my cut.
Wonderful to talk to you, Julie. Thank you so much for offering to be a part of our NDIS series. You will join us on the panel when we do it?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
That'll
definitely.
be fun.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
Yeah, and me too. So thank you so very, very much for being part of it. I should quickly say, I was supposed to say it at the beginning, that all the opinions of you and me are not necessarily the opinions of our sponsors and supporters. So we're just
absolutely
talking at what we think. And please subscribe so me and Julie can have more talks, and hit the little button and everything like that. See, Carl, I remembered today to say subscribe, please. Julie subscribed immediately. I like her very much.
I did.
Thank you very much, Julie.
Thank you.
Don't
It's
go
been
away.
a pleasure.
And all right, Carl, I think that's about it for Julie at the moment. But thank you, everybody, for listening on this NDIS edition of The Spin. We're doing a series of programs on the NDIS. If you'd like to be a part of them, please drop us an email at ndisdiscussion@accessibleglobe.tv. ndisdiscussion@accessibleglobe.tv, not .com.